Yeah, I can send that out. People want to
Okay.
take a look at it. It's not,
Yeah.
the new one is not ready yet. I think
Okay.
they'll send me a notification of when it's online. So they're
Okay.
putting it all together right now.
Okay, great. Yeah. Because I remember, was it last year you had a couple of prints go in,
Yeah.
went in on their gallery, and I looked at it, really did some
Yeah.
good work there.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, the only other thing I wanted to bring up, I just wanted to kind of put the bug out there about, we have 5 more months left to go before we break for the summer. But I'm gonna start putting the bug out there, or putting the thought out there that, you know, if you have some ideas about what you'd like to do for assigned subjects in the following year, you know, I'm open for any suggestions at any time. You can email them to me. And also right after the holidays, I mentioned this last time, and I've been chasing my tail here since the last meeting, but after the holidays, things are going to settle down. I'd like to get all the members together just for just a general meeting, so we can talk over some ideas that have about the club, and some, you know, I want to, you know, bounce ideas off everybody, see what everybody wants, you know, see where we want to go, you know, going forward, you know, into next year and beyond. And so I'd like to do that. I'll get with everybody. I'll send out an email after New Year's, and I'd like to get that done before our January meeting if we could. So anyway, anybody else have anything they want to bring up? No. Mr. Hooper, the floor is yours. And
Well,
you can start with the assigned or the open, however you want to do it.
Okay, that's fine. First of all, I want to say, don't believe anything Bill or Dennis tell you. You know, they know me, so. Let me give you a little bit of my background. I had to make notes on it so I won't forget it, you know, get to that age. Got my Prevagen right here. So I started my journey in photography in high school, you know, back in the late 60s, early 70s, with black and white wet work, you know. So I'm well versed in the rigors of black and white development, dodging, burning, and enlargers. So that was a lot of fun. I always have to give credit to my uncle who got me interested in photography. His name was Jerry Lowry, and he was a photographer for the U.S. Air Force. And he gifted me my first 35 millimeter camera, which was an old shoebox. A lot of you probably have seen or used, an old Argus C3 and a rangefinder camera. And of course, you know, being in high school, oh man, I wanted SLR so bad. But of course, I came from a family of fairly modest means, so that had to wait for a number of years till I was able to afford one on my own. And that happened when I was in my 20s. So that's when I was actually living out in northern Idaho. I lived out there for 2.5 years. And I worked as a Gandy dancer, if any of you guys know what that is.
What that is.
Yeah. Railroad track crew worker, got to pound railroad spikes all day, every day, and run a muck stick, you know, shovel, pick, and hammer. That was what I did for 2.5 years.
Wow.
Summer spring and fall were really nice. Summer and winter were miserable. And then I really didn't get seriously back into photography till I moved back here in Kansas City area. I'm originally from Ohio, and in 1990, and that's when I joined Johnson County Camera Club, who has now merged with Digital Dimensions, and I was a founding member of Digital Dimensions also. So that's when I really got serious. So I've been a serious shooter for 30 plus years, and I've had a couple of small gallery showings and a couple of joint showings over the years. And I've had several of my pictures appear in newspapers. And what else? I was a Canon shooter for 30 plus years. I just switched over to Olympus about 3 years ago. And I'm guessing that some of you are like me. That 40-pound backpack that I used to carry everywhere got a little heavy. So now my backpack weighs about 20 pounds. And I always used to joke that my backpack goes everywhere with me except the bed and the shower. But now that I'm using Olympus, the shower is optional. You know, you can take it in the shower, but if you wanted to. But that gives you a little bit of background on my history and my dubious qualifications of judging your work. Let me flip back to my notes here. Do you want me to pull them up and share from the Google site?
Yeah, if you
Okay.
can.
Let me see. I should be able to do a share screen, maybe. Yeah, and I want to share this one. Okay, there we are. So I'm just going to go in the order they happen to appear on the screen. So
Okay.
the first one up in the assigned is 1859 by Gary Walden. And you know, Gary, I wanted you to ask you, are you here, Gary? First up, okay.
Yes, I'm Gary.
Okay, I want to ask, you know, why you chose this subject, just out of curiosity.
Well, I chose it really because I've been playing around with trying to do some, I don't know if you call it commercial shots, but of my coin collection, thinking in terms of maybe someday marketing them because I don't have anybody who wants them. But you know, it's more difficult than you would think to take a good picture of a coin because of the reflection. So it's more of a practical commercial shot, so to speak. And it's taken with an Olympus, by the way.
Oh, there you go.
I think a little cheap 60. I think it's 60 millimeter macro. Little cheap one that they have.
That's a very sharp lens.
Yeah, yes, it is.
Yeah, I asked because I have several Indian head pennies, and I don't have one going back as far as 1859, but I really liked it, and that's in really good shape. Not much wear on it. And I could tell you lit it from the upper right because of the rim around it, and on the lower left, you can see the highlights on the ridges of the penny, which gives it a lot more definition. Let me see. I thought your focus was really good for such a shallow depth of field for macro. You know, when you're doing 1-to-1 or larger, it's millimeters. So luckily you had a nice flat subject that helped out with that. It's a good shot. Let me see. I think that's all the comments I had for this shot, but I liked it. I liked the subject. I liked the sharpness of it too. Awesome. And the next one is Crepe Myrtle by Bill Stoudemire. William, I see he's got William up there, so I better call him William.
Only Bill.
Okay, Bill. And I wanted to ask you, what was your goal for this shot? What did you want to convey to us?
Well, I just wanted to, it's crepe myrtle seed is about the size of a pea.
Yeah.
And so I was just trying to get the detail in the top of it because I knew I wouldn't be able to get it totally sharp, but anyway.
Yeah, I noticed that it was a little, just a tad soft, but it's a very good close up. Very very I liked it a lot. Very for lack of a better term, close up. Let me see. Okay, go to the next one. And this is 5 point. And I I wasn't sure whether this was a seed pod or whether it was the cross section of a stem. So you can maybe enlighten me on what that actually is, by James Schultz.
Yeah, I don't think he's chimed in yet this evening.
Okay, I wasn't sure. It looks almost like it's a cross section of a stem with the capillaries and everything, but I really liked it. It's very sharp, a lot of good contrast. So kudos to that. Let me see what else. Yeah, I was really not quite sure whether it was a cross section or a seed. I like the sharp focus throughout the image. And I said, you can almost feel those spines sinking into your flesh.
Yeah, because I've been trying to figure out what this thing is ever since I've seen it.
Yeah, it
I
looks
don't know what-
almost like a cactus.
It does,
Yeah,
the spines.
but ooh, I wouldn't want to sit on it.
Yeah, it looks wicked.
The next one is a subject that's near and dear to my heart. Let me change my notes here. This is Garden Spider by Calvin. And why did you choose a spider for your macro?
He was right outside our back door here this past summer.
Yeah.
And I love these spiders. They scare a lot of people because they're gaudy looking, they're yellow, they're black, and
Mhm.
got some orange on them. And like I say, they're a pretty good sized spider, but they're really pretty docile. And
Yeah.
he was right out there in the open, and sun was hitting him just right one morning. I thought, I'm gonna go out and get me some get some shots of this guy. I just love them. They're great.
Yeah.
And they also keep the other bugs down. They keep the other bugs in check.
I used to have get these orb spiders every year in my zinnias, and I haven't had them for the past couple of years. But I'm like you. I love them. They're just amazing creatures.
The little brown ones.
No, I'm sorry. I'm trying to remember what these are called. These are called golden orb. Aren't these golden orb spiders? Something like that.
I don't know. Yeah, because we have one, or we have a spider around here that builds an orb that they call a wood spider, which is
Gotcha.
brown. It's got a real round, bulbous abdomen,
Mhm.
and their thorax, and the rest of them is kind of small, but yeah, all those things are all over
Got lots of subjects.
here. Yeah, got a lot of them.
Let me say, the thing I like was your composition. I was very impressed that it looks like it's at an angle in the web because the top of the web
Yes.
is very sharp and you get a little bokeh on the bottom of the web, but he is sharp from his tail to his eyes. There's a little bit of fall off on the front legs, but other than that, it's really sharp. So I was really impressed with that. So you must have had to get just at the right angle to get him all in focus.
Yeah, he was at an angle. And I had to get pretty low to get the shot because he was down close to the ground.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
I like it. It was a good one.
Hey, Harold,
Huh?
real quick, can you close that window down at the bottom that says get
Oh,
notifications?
turn on.
Just hit the X there on the right. There you go.
There you go.
Thank you.
Got it. Showing my lack of technical savvy. Now this one, On Time by Dennis Lindell. I wanted to know why you chose a watch for your subject.
Well, I like watches, and watches are pretty much a staple of macro, any type of jewelry or
Yeah.
spiders, or so it was one of the things that I thought of right away. And this is a watch that I have and I've had about 10 years, so I wear it
Mhm.
some, but just something so I could have a decent macro, and this way in 30 years or 20 years, if I don't have it anymore, I've got something to remember it by.
There you go. There you go. I was going to ask, are the months on that raised or are they flat? The reason I ask is because in the lower left where the light's really bright, they look almost one-dimensional, but when you get up to November, December, if you enlarge a little bit, it looks like there's either else a little bit of ghosting or they're raised. So I was curious if they were flat or had some.
I think they're raised a little bit and
Yeah.
at an angle.
Mhm. Yeah, I was curious. That was a really interesting effect as I was looking at it. Let me see. The only criticism and all I might have is that lower right is a little hot, but other than that, what I really liked about this, and you might laugh at me, was I like the scratches on the bezel because it shows it's a timepiece that's
Yep.
not sitting in somebody's drawer. It gets worn. So it's got a little bit of story behind it, which you alluded to a little bit earlier, which I really like.
Yeah. And I burnt that corner down quite a bit to get it to that point. I had two
Yeah.
lights on opposite corners to get sort of lighted up. But, and this was just shot with my Fuji S20. It's a small point and shoot.
Mhm.
So, but with the built-in macro lens, it made it a lot easier than trying to
Yeah,
get everything out. And
It's very sharp. I liked it a lot.
Yep.
Let me see. The next up is the Stylus Detail by Bill Schaff. And I'm going to be a little bit of nitpicky here. I really like the graphic design element of this, but it's not really macro. Macro by definition is 1-to-1. This is more of a close-up shot. But I really liked it's laying on a blotter at an angle. I like the kind of the graphic design layout of it, but it's not quote unquote true macro. But let me see. And well, I already said that I like the dark blotter with the white table. See, I like also the focus fall off from the point of the pin to the top of the frame, because it really focuses your attention on the cap and the point of the pin. So I really like this shot, but it wasn't really macro in my opinion. So, go ahead and throw a rock at me. And the next one is Tyne in Time by Tom Woodbush. And again, I really like the graphic design nature of this, but it's not macro, it's close up. So not really 1-to-1, but I think it was really well executed. The only comment I would have is maybe crop the top a little bit tighter to get rid of that kind of distracting white light spot up there in the upper right.
Okay.
But other than that, I thought it was really well executed, a very clever take on kind of a graphic design image.
I guess I'm confused because I thought that macro was more close up, double or triple the size of the object than a one-on-one.
The true definition of macro is something 1-to-1 or larger. So for these to be macro, you probably would have had to have some just the tines of the fork in focus, in my opinion. I mean,
Okay.
that's the only criticism I have. I really like the shot,
Thank you.
I can see that hanging on my wall. Let me say, I already talked about cropping, and I wanted to get your idea on what you were trying to convey. Were you trying to
Yeah,
convey the graphic design nature of it?
I downloaded a new version and I got it. It finally came up.
Okay. So do you want me to give the standings on this or go to the other?
Yeah. Yeah, if you would, go ahead and do that before you do the open.
Okay. In my humble opinion, some might not say I'm so humble, but you know. Honorable mention, go in reverse order. Honorable mention is 1859 by Gary Walden. Third is 5 Point by James Schultz. Second is On Time by Dennis Lindell. And first is Garden Spider by Calvin Burgess.
Yeah, what was the second again?
On Time by Dennis Lindell.
And James joined us, so you can ask him about that, about his picture.
Oh, okay.
I finally got through all the goddamn electronic crap. God dang old farts and electronics just don't go together.
So let me see, that was
You're curious about something?
oh, that was the 5 Point.
5
The
Point.
5
yeah.
Point, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Make
So
him explain that one.
Is that a cactus or is
It's a
that?
cactus. Yeah.
Okay, that's what we finally decided at the end, but when I first was looking at it, I couldn't tell whether it was a seed pod or whether it was a cross section of a weed or what, but I really like that.
So was there anything that you saw that could use some improvement or any suggestions?
Let me pull it back up. I really like that all of the needles on it are in sharp focus. I think it's very well executed for a macro. Getting the depth of field that you did is really quite remarkable. So I don't have much comments on doing anything different because it stands on its own, really.
I got a question.
Mhm.
Hey, James, in the image up on the, say like the up to the upper right and then the far upper left, and then even down the lower right a little bit, you've got a couple of these little, whatever they are, with the needles on, suspended out there. How did you do that?
Well,
you
it
burn
was a
something
dark
down?
shot kind of to start with, and it was a dark green.
Mm.
Okay.
And so I just really took that dark green and just really pushed it black.
Okay,
So those are
That-
actually connected to the plant.
Yeah, it's actually
gotcha.
connected to another part of the stem.
They're just not floating out in the ether.
No, they're not just floating, but that was the thing that intrigued me about it, was that
Mhm.
it almost looked, I don't know, alien.
Yeah.
yeah.
I think
That's
you
what I
missed
was
my
thinking.
I think you missed my comment that I said I could almost feel those needles sinking in my flesh.
Mhm. And they will.
Yeah, I know.
Wow. Well, I love the way you got those pieces suspended out there, kind of in no,
Mhm.
just hanging out there, because it really gives it a, I don't know, it gives it a whole different depth of interest as to what
Yeah.
you have there.
Are those falling out of something? Are they? Yeah.
Are they? I'm sorry.
I said it, the viewers thinks, are those just falling out of something? You captured them in midair or,
Yeah, they're floating or
Mhm.
out there, suspended,
Mhm.
almost like a biological virus or
Yeah.
something.
I
Yeah.
think we've had enough of that this year,
Yeah.
last couple of years.
That is a very interesting shot. I like that.
Yeah, it is.
Thanks.
Okay, if we want to go on to our open category, the first one is, let me change my page here. I'm old fashioned, like to make notes.
That's all right.
The first one is Shoreline by James Schultz. And I wanted to ask, what was your goal for this image?
Mostly the patterns in the stone,
Mhm.
the breakup of that light and dark. Sure, it's not typical, for
Yeah.
for our shorelines for around here. So anyway, that has been a kind of a favorite place for us to go and
Hmm.
play around on and stuff. It's really an interesting formation, you
Uh,
know.
So where is it?
Perry, Lake
Where?
Perry, Lake Perry.
Oh, Lake Perry. Okay,
Really?
awesome. I had a few comments, good leading line, and I liked the very low angle of the light that really made the texture of the rocks pop.
Yeah.
And not many people would notice it, but I really like the inclusion of the people and the dog back there in the far background for scale. It's very nice. And I was wondering, what would you think about potentially cropping the left in about maybe a third? So you get rid of
As much of the water.
the right. I'm going the wrong way.
Okay.
The right end
Or the
about a
bank
third.
out of it.
Yeah, crop that beach out of it, not quite to the people, but almost, and that way you would have a balance between the water and the rocks in the picture.
I had the one thing that I was trying to include is that piece that's right in the lower right,
Mhm.
that one formation there, to catch that one section of that line that comes up from that corner
Yeah, got
and
it.
into that. When I cropped it down shorter and got rid of more of the beach, then
You'd lose that. Yeah.
I lost too much water then for me.
Yeah,
The
okay.
balance between the rock and the water didn't.
Mhm.
So
Well,
if I
you're the
cropped
artist,
it
you
the
know what you
other
were going
way,
for.
uh,
I said, you're the artist, you knew what you were going for.
and the same way as if, when I had cropped it in from the left, then there was a little bit too much shoreline.
Gotcha.
So
Overall, really good.
it was a compromise.
Yeah, really good composition. I really liked it. And especially the inclusion of the people and the dog. That was a nice touch.
Well, my wife and son get tired of me, it's saying, "Hey, stand here. I need scale." Especially my wife. Hmm?
I kind of understand. I have
Yeah.
14-year-old twins and they won't let me take any more pictures of them.
Yeah. My wife refers to my camera as my mistress, and
Oh.
she said, "Don't ask me to be scale."
The next one is Open Alaskan Mine Gear, or no, it's just Alaskan Mine Gear. Sorry, open is the category, by Tom Whittebush. And I wanted to know what you were saying with this image, what were you trying to convey to the observer?
Oh, he's muted. You're muted, Tom.
You're muted.
Oh.
There we go.
There you go.
I was documenting just, for historical sake, equipment at an old gold mine that is not in operation anymore up in Alaska. And I thought this gear was huge. And I thought it was rather interesting the way the light was hitting it and just some of the definition of the finish on the gear.
I wonder, it looks like the gear up in the upper right has got some dings in it or some smash marks. I wonder what happened to that to make that happen if that's a giant gear.
Probably just wearing over age, not meshing with another, it meshes with some other gears down below.
Yeah.
Probably got out of alignment and over the years just kind of got mushed.
Wow. It tells a story, that's for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah. It was very interesting equipment up there.
Yeah.
How big was that there, Tom?
I actually have a good friend who, when I was working out in Idaho, he was a hard rock miner for Bunker Hill for lead, zinc, silver. And he took a job in Alaska as the foreman of a platinum mine. So
Huh.
when you said gold, I was going to ask you what they were mining, but you beat me to the punch.
Yeah, we actually got to, they had some little slurries there and actually mined for gold, and
Oh,
I did pretty good, really.
awesome.
Yeah.
How big was this gear, Tom?
Oh, golly, that thing was probably 20 feet in diameter.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah, the picture doesn't do it justice though, because of the size, maybe,
Mhm.
I don't
Well,
know.
I took some other pictures, but they were, I don't know, that to me, they just were like too busy and uninteresting. I just thought the close-up of the gear kind of told the story, but whatever.
If
Yeah,
you'd
it
had
does.
your wife climb up on those gears for scale,
No way.
just a
was actually-
suggestion.
It was actually shot with a telephoto because it was a little bit far from where we were standing. You couldn't get close to it. No.
Nice. The only comment I would have is it seems a little monochrome. Not a lot of contrast, but other than that, I mean, nice shot.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you bet. The next one is Bittersweet. Just Bittersweet by Bill. And once again, I was going to ask you what your goal was for this image.
Well, we got a big bittersweet plant out in the backyard, and I scrounged a lens, and I don't know whether it's from a printer or what it was from anymore. But anyway, it's a small lens. I taped it to my iPhone,
Mhm.
and I wanted to see how close I could get and how much would this. So just a test on the lens, really.
Did really good. The main subject, the bittersweet, is very sharp, even when I blew it up pretty good size. So overall, very nice subject for not for macro or for open, I should say.
Thanks.
Yeah, you bet. Let me see. The next one is Bridge Over No Water by Dennis Lindell. And I was going to ask you, what drew your interest to these two bridges? There's one in front, which is the old one, and probably one in back, which is probably the new interstate one, I'm guessing.
So I took a trip one day down to Joplin and took it across and jumped onto the old 66.
Okay, yeah.
And this is actually an old bridge over 66. And then they built a new bridge behind it for all the traffic. But so this is actually part of the old 66 highway, Route 66. And of course, you can drive across it, but it's sort of off to the side and sort of a historic bridge. So I got off and walked across it, and there wasn't a whole lot of traffic that Friday. And it was just sort of something to do, a nostalgia trip down there. And I'd like to go visit more of the old 66. And but I pulled over and just sort of liked the way it was framed up with the trees and the clouds. And
I was going to ask you, this looks, and I don't know if anybody else sees this, it looks almost ethereal to me. It looks very like an HDR image in black and white. So that was really an interesting effect. The only comment I have is you might want to consider cropping the right side in to get rid of that one limb that's hanging out there at the top. A little distracting, and maybe crop the bottom a little bit to focus the interest more on the bridge. But other than that, I thought it was a great shot.
so it is a preset that is a infrared preset.
Oh, okay. I knew there was something different about it.
So, but would you crop it from the right to get rid of that excess, or would you just use a healing or some type of tool to get rid of that branch on the top right to sort of keep it balanced?
Yeah, I didn't know how you guys feel about Photoshop. But yeah, I would just clone it out and get rid of that, and maybe bring it up from the bottom just a hair
Right.
to get rid of that bare spot right there, just so you got the grass. But other than that, I mean, not other than that, it's a great shot.
Yeah,
That could only make it better.
right. I don't know if I really noticed that top right
Mhm,
branch when I was working on it the first time.
mhm.
So, but that'd be an easy thing to take out.
Yeah.
Or I hope it would be.
Yeah.
So, thanks.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm happy to give my humble opinion.
Your 2 cents? Or is it a little bit more than that now with the inflation?
Uh, maybe a little more. Next one is Christmas Joy. Turn my page. By Bill Shaw. And what drew you to this subject, just out of curiosity?
I don't think he's with us this evening.
Okay. I thought it was a very seasonal or topical image, a Christmas tree bulb. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I can see the photographer in the reflection of the bulb, which is a kind of a nice touch. A lot of people would say, oh man, but I actually like that. But I liked it sharp focus, except for it falls off a little bit on the bulb, but the reflective bulb. But maybe that's what he wanted, so we couldn't really discern that he's in the bulb. I don't know, but overall, very very nice shot. I like the balance of black and white in it too. Looks like the left hand side kind of offsets the right hand side. Light versus dark. Yin and yang, as it were, of the image. Let me see. Oh, I do have one pedantic comment on this, and I'm going to have to enlarge it. It's this little hair right here. There's a little tiny hair right there on the bulb, and that took me coming down. That was a little distracting to me. But other than that, overall good shot. The next one is Shadows by Gary Walden. And my question is, what do you like about this image?
Well, I like the way the fence and the shadows kind of lead into the picture and up to the barn. This is in Missouri Town out here by Lake Jacomo, not too far from our house. So I've gone out there and photographed it many a time over the years. A similar scene with different angles, and I added a little contrast to bring out the shadows a little bit. But
I have to tell you, I really like this image because of the repeating S curves in it. They got the fence, you got the shadows, you got the road. It all just kind of leads your eye through the image, and really really liked it. It's a place I'd like to visit, I think, when you just look at it.
Yeah, and then you've got those tree shadows that just cut across it, in the middle of those curves. That's why I love that about the road and the fence. Kind of, they mimic each other. That's Beautiful
Yep.
shot.
Very well balanced, very well executed. Good job.
Thank you.
Mhm. And last but certainly not least is Yellow Underwing by Calvin Burgess. And my question is, what is unique about this subject to you?
Well, this little bugger was crawling around on our patio here this past summer. And I went and pulled a couple of little twigs off of a bush or something.
Mhm.
And I think it was one of the bushes. I pulled some twigs off of it. And every time I touched him, he'd curl up in a ball and just sit there for the longest time. He was playing possum. So I finally got to move, and then trying to get him to get on one of these twigs.
Mhm.
I was hoping to get him to crawl across there. I wanted to get a little bit better detail in his face. I mean, you can see his eyes
Mhm.
there, and you can see he's got two little, I'm not sure if those are little fangs or what they are, but
Mhm.
this little guy, he was very temperamental. Every time I moved him around, he would stop, and he would stay stopped for 15, 20 minutes at a time.
Wow.
He liked to play possum. And I'm tell you what, I would have pulled him apart before I would have got him off that twig. He was hanging on that thing tight. Yeah, it's a little yellow underwing moth caterpillar. And yeah, this was back early in the spring of this past year.
So
And,
did you use flash on this?
No, I did not. This is actually, I actually had set all this up on our patio table and had the umbrella up. So I had a little bit of a filtered light so he wouldn't just harsh sunlight on him. And I just kept rearranging until and took several shots. I don't know how many shots I took this little guy, and finally just kept this one. It was, he was a lot of fun to play with. And also that was not long after I'd got that macro lens, and I wanted to play with it and see how it worked.
Well,
So I'm playing.
the one thing I was really impressed with is the face and the tail are both in pretty sharp focus for macro. You know, your depth of field is very, very shallow. So I'm quite impressed with him wrapping around that twig and getting them both in focus. Same plane of focus.
Yeah, he was a lot of fun to play with.
That's what it's all about, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't think he had so much fun, but I was having a ball.
I bet he's glad you didn't pull him apart.
Yeah. I tried a couple times to pull him off there, and I was going to get him, reposition him. And I thought, no, I'm going to pull this little guy to pieces if I try to get him off there. So I just let him do what he was going to do.
Great shot. Liked it a lot.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we need a drum roll?
Yeah.
Okay. Honorable mention goes to Christmas Joy for Bill Schaff. Third place goes to Shoreline by James Schultz. Second place goes to Bridge Over No Water by Dennis Lindell. And first place is Shadows by Gary Walden.
Thank you.
Really like that shadow shot. That was awesome. I mean, you guys made my job a lot harder, it's very tough making decisions on this.
Could you give me a third and second again, please?
Yes, third is Shoreline by James Schultz, and second is Bridge Over No Water by Dennis Lindell.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Okay. Well, Harold, you want to show us some of your macro work, or
I'd be happy to.
whatever you want to talk about? If you bring us these little spiders, I'm going to pick your brain. Oh my God, I love that.
This is for lack of a better term, they call them gallinippers or mayflies.
Right.
I got this subject down. We went down to southern Missouri, trying to remember the name of the town, to a little place called Cabin on a Creek. And that's all it was a little tiny cabin we rented and took the kids down there. And this was dead on the windowsill. So I had a nice subject. It looked like it was freshly dead. So it's just, I've seen a few of them since I've taken this, but talk about, if they were human sized, what that thing would do to you. I mean, it's scares the bejesus out of me.
That's beautiful.
There's a picture of a snowflake I took last year. Interesting thing is, the snow we get around here isn't always this beautiful snowflakey. A lot of times when it's really cold, it'll be the little ice bars. And so getting the right subject is very tough, especially with snowflake photography and being out in the cold. But it was a lot of fun.
One of the things I've been, I've actually made a few attempts, and I haven't liked any of my attempts so far, was shooting frost patterns on the windshield of my car or on the side windows of my car, early in the morning before they melt off. There are some really cool patterns, and a lot of those, when we get a real heavy frost.
Yeah.
My problem, I love the way you got this lit. How did you get that lit like that? Was that backlight or
side lit? I think I was just using a pen light flashlight.
Okay.
And this was actually on the window of my Prius, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So it was relatively, if you can get them on a flat surface, either, a lot of the people who specialize in snowflakes use like fine camel hair brushes to pick them up and put them on like felt or something. But I just try to, shoot in situ, wherever I can find it.
Right. Because I've got a couple of small pieces of flat glass that are really not. I thought, well, one of these mornings we're going to get a good frost or even maybe a little snow, clean it up really good, and I can prop it up out here and back and just let nature do its thing.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing some of those.
That's some of the attachments I told you that I picked up where I can go in and do a hyper macro, which you're getting into that realm now with this image. Where you're getting in really tight, really close.
Oh yeah. And that was taken with Olympus 60.
Okay.
I have no idea what kind of fly this is, but I found it dying in my yard
Wow.
last summer. But it was a really interesting looking insect, for lack of a better term. And these were all, since these are dead, these are still subjects. And I don't think the snowflake was dead, though. I don't think it was inanimate to begin with. But I'm shooting with the first one and this one were taken with a Canon 7D with the 90 millimeter macro. And I think I might have had extension tubes on it. This is also shot with a Wii macro focusing rail. So you set them up, you set the rail up, you set the focus, the rail so it's just in front of the subject, and you tell it how many pictures or how long to travel for each shot, and you can go as short on a Wii macro as 1 micron. So it is very accurate. And I think this is somewhere in the neighborhood of 300 images stacked together.
Really?
Yeah.
So you use a focus stacking.
Yeah, I use Zyrene.
Zyrene.
Mm-hmm.
Is that spelled with an X or a Z?
Z.
A Z?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it does an amazing job. The only time it has any issues is when you have like hairs that cross each other. Sometimes it gets confused. But the one thing I liked about this is it even caught the reflection of these hairs on the eyes.
Yes.
So it's and I was using I think 3 flashes for this. I have like 4 maybe 5 Canon flashes, and they're all synced. So, and I had it wrapped in, I think this one was wrapped in a styrofoam cup to keep
Okay.
the flash from being too harsh on it.
And
But
also, right, those two big bulbous appendages there. Look at those. Now, I don't know, not knowing what kind of bug this is, and I'm not a proficient in entomology, but right there between those two big bulbous pieces,
Mhm.
it looks like there's 3 little eyes right there.
Oh, yeah.
Because there are some bugs that have these
Yep.
big things, and then actually their real eyes are right in the middle, or they may use all of them
Yep.
in conjunction to where they can see everywhere.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Those are eyes. And
Okay.
I think, spiders have eyes on top, and there are a lot of insects that have this characteristic.
Right.
I only got a couple more here. I call this a
man.
green meanie. It was really interesting because my daughter actually found this on my father-in-law's garage, stuck in, one of his legs was stuck in the crease of his garage door down at Truman Lake.
Oh, wow.
I have no idea what kind of insect it is. I mean, it's a beetle, but other than that,
Yeah.
I just thought the color was just amazing on it.
Wow. That is beautiful.
Hmm.
Now, do you use the same type of lighting on this, or you use multiple flashes? And
Yep. They're all shot with pretty much the same setup.
okay.
Except the spiders I'm getting to in a minute. Those were all
Okay.
done. I'll show you. I think I just, my homemade flash attachment is just on the other side of my desk. I'll run over and grab it and show it to you. I absolutely love the eyes on these horseflies. And I have spent untold hours trying to capture some of the horseflies with a butterfly net down at Truman Lake, because my father-in-law drives a white Dodge Ram, and for some reason they love that thing. And whenever we go down there in the summer, they are just swarming all over it. But the patterns in the eyes are really what gets me excited. But the level of detail when you do the stacking, and you're doing a micron or 2 or 3 microns at a time, it is quite remarkable.
So just for grins here, roughly, before you use your photo stacking, about how many shots are you putting in? Are you taking to get these images?
Between 300 and 600 typically, depends on how big the subject is.
Okay.
I usually have a trail of about 5 millimeters maybe.
Okay.
And depending upon how what's the word I'm looking for? How big the subject is,
Right.
and how those slices are going to play out, determines how many images it takes.
Wow, that is awesome.
Okay, now this
There we
is one
go.
for you, Calvin, and this one was taken with my Olympus, and it's alive. It was safely returned to its outdoor location. But it was taken with the 60 millimeter macro with a attachment lens, a Raynox, I think it's a Raynox 250. And the key to this is the flash.
Wow.
If you're really interested in super close up, there's a guy that has a website. He has a blog named Alan Walls, WALANWALLS, I think. And anything about macro photography you could ever imagine is on his website. That's where I've learned a lot of my stuff. And he has a pattern for making this attachment.
Okay.
And it's just, if you know if you are familiar with the play mats you can get that go together like a puzzle, like for the floor, that's all this is. You can buy them at at Harbor Freight.
Okay.
I mean, you can get like 5 of them for $5 or $6. And there's a pattern out there on Alan's website on how to do this, and it's lined with aluminum foil. And then I just have a piece of, if you can see this, there's just a
Yeah.
piece of milk carton I cut to
Okay.
um, put on there to soften the flash.
Just to stop. Yeah.
And
Wow.
it's actually curved so that when you put your flash in there and you mount it on your camera, it's actually pointing down, if you can see that. So your lens is about right here, so you get really good coverage with this. And of course, you know, if you have a remote trigger, you can take this off and put it anywhere you want it. But this is what I've
Wow.
taken a lot of my macro stuff with, that's not stacked. And this
Okay.
one, and there's another nice one in here coming up. There.
Yeah.
That guy, my son found that on our bedroom floor upstairs, and he's still living in a jar upstairs. I've been feeding him crickets. He's still a subject.
Uh-huh.
And that was taken again with the Olympus, with the 60 with the 250 Raynox 250 attached to it. And that spider is probably less than 1/4 of an inch long when it started. Now it's grown actually quite a bit since we put it in the jar and been feeding it. But my son has a leopard gecko, so we have a regular supply of crickets and critters to feed it. But this is one of my favorite pictures. I took this one about not very long ago, last month sometime.
Wow. I love that angle that you got. You're right down there looking right at him. I mean,
Oh yeah.
That's beautiful.
I went out and got some fall leaves when they were around and put them on a Lazy Susan and put him on there. And then the thing about a Lazy Susan is, and that's another tip from Alan Walls, or actually that's not from Alan Walls, that's from another guy I've watched. But so no matter which way he's directing, you can just spin him around on him, and it works really nice. And my this is handheld, but it was balanced on the tabletop, you know, the lens on the tabletop.
Okay.
But and I think I only got one and maybe 2 more. Oh yeah, this is one. This wouldn't qualify as macro. This is more close up, but this is a bumblebee, once again shot with the Olympus with the 60 and the flash attachment. You can see the flash on his tail, but it got pretty sharp. Got him carrying his pollen. I think I called this one "Taking Your Work Home."
Yeah. Wow, that's beautiful. That's great.
Yeah, that's a Rose of Sharon there. We have a bush in the backyard, so it's right off our deck. And here's the last one, I think. Yeah. And this is a wolf spider, and we have these in our basement quite regularly. And he did not survive his encounter with me. But I usually try to catch them and turn them loose outside. But in the winter, you know, there's not much of a chance of them surviving. So.
Yeah, that's with me. If I catch them, I like to photograph them and turn them loose.
Yep.
The only time I got in trouble with that, I brought a little black jumping spider inside the house, and my wife was freaking out, like, "What are you going to do with that bug? You know, what are you going to do with that thing?" I'm just going to take a couple photos of it. We had this very large bowl, and I set him down inside there, and I thought, okay, if I can get a few shots, I want to get some test shots. I want to, you know, play with this macro lens. And when he jumped out of the bowl, or actually the far side of the bowl, jumped out of that, landed on me. The fight was on, and it wasn't between me and the spider, it's between my wife and myself. So I had to go outside and shake him off. That's been one of my biggest problems, especially with the jumping spiders. You get down close to them, and they're curious.
Oh yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, they jump on you. They jump on your camera, jump on you.
Yep.
They want to see what you're doing.
That little spider that was on the red rose petal, he jumped on my lens hood more times than I can count.
Yeah. And these here, there was only one time years ago, my wife carried some laundry. She was going through the house. She got some laundry out of the back, and she held up a shirt, and she says, "Do you want this washed?" And something fell out of the shirt, and I actually heard it land on the carpet. And I didn't see what, I just saw something dark. And I was getting ready to say something fell out of that shirt, and what it was a female wolf spider.
Oh, wow.
She was probably about 4 inches in diameter.
Oh, wow.
She hit the floor. I mean, you could hear her hit the floor.
Yeah.
And
One
then,
of the things I would love to find is, and I know they can find them in South Missouri, but I don't think they come as far north. We have property at Truman Lake, but I don't think they come that far north, are the Missouri tarantulas.
right.
I've never seen one this far north, but and my father-in-law, who used to work construction, said he'd see them all the time in southern Missouri. Like, oh,
Yeah. We had one for a long time that my wife had captured before we were married. She was a teenager. She was visiting some family down in Oklahoma, and they were kind of out in the woods and had to relieve themselves. So they went out and found a log they could work off of. And while she's sitting there in her predicament, this tarantula comes crawling up between her legs.
oh, wow.
He wound up stored in a bottle of alcohol for years.
Yeah. I was gonna say,
Yeah.
he probably hurried the process a little.
Yeah, she hurried his day up a little bit, put an end to him. But yeah, she's told me that story a few times. I crack up every time I hear it. But I love that. I love the face on this thing, because you look, you see he's got the row of 4 eyes, you got the 2 eyes, and then he's got 4 more eyes behind his face. Oh, these are great.
Yeah.
I love these.
There are, I think, about three people that I recommend on YouTube. One is Alan Walls. The other is a Brit called Stuart Wood. Stuart Wood or Stuart Woods. He specializes in jumping spiders, so you'll get a kick out of that. And the third one is a guy who hasn't posted a lot recently. His name, he was very well known a few years ago. His name, I think, is Thomas Shahan, and he's got some really good. And he did all of his photography out in the field, and he's got some, I mean, stunning images.
Wow, those are gorgeous. This is the kind of stuff that I'm wanting to get into more. The nice close macro, and then the hyper macros too.
The one thing I haven't done yet, and I would love to, is get my Olympus hooked up on the Wii Macro. So far, I've only, because I don't have the right cable for it, I just wrote the company and asked which specific cable I need for the EM1 Mark V. And, oh, excuse me, EM3 Mark V, sorry. No, EM1, I can't remember which one it is. But you know that Olympus has focus stacking already. So I thought,
Really?
you know, if I could get it to move a millimeter and focus stack an image, another millimeter focus stack an image, man, I'd have some really sharp stuff, but
Right.
haven't got around to trying it yet.
Wow. I did get some shots of one jumping spider this summer.
Mhm.
And I did it with my macro lens. I one shot front to back sharp. I mean, you see every little hair on him, but he was facing away from me. Crap, you know.
Giving his best side.
Yeah, you know, as soon as I shot as soon as I hit the shutter, he turned around. And
Yeah, I have those shots that haunt me like that. We had my daughter and I have gotten into rock hunting and fossil hunting, you know, and we went early over to Clinton Lake before dawn, you know. We were driving around Clinton over in Lawrence, and we were driving around the dam, and we came around a corner, and the sun was just coming. There was a mist, and there was a huge buck, right, just silhouetted in the mist, and my camera gear was in the back of the Prius. So that's one of those that will haunt me forever. You know, as soon as I got out of the car to get my camera, he gone. But
yep. But those are beautiful. I like your idea on the flash attachment too. I'm gonna have to look into that.
Yeah, they're really fairly easy to make. It took me 30 minutes maybe to put it together, maybe an hour.
Yeah, I've got a little ring flash that will let me use the entire ring or one side or the other. But I wish it would let me scale it back a little bit further, you know, like turn on maybe 20 or 30% of the light instead of all of it, you know, on either side, you know, where it would help me adjust my light a little bit better. But Yeah, because with these shots, you don't get a second chance.
That's right. I've been using, let me see, these are, just trying to think of the brand. They're Newer, I think. Yeah, Newer NW580. And you know, you can adjust these down to like an 1/8 power, maybe a
Right.
maybe a 32nd power. Don't remember. Let me turn it on real quick here and see. Now down to the 64th, 128.
Okay.
So it goes all the way
Wow.
down to 128 power.
Wow. That's
But I
cool.
think I shoot most of these on about a quarter, an 1/8 or a quarter.
Right. Okay.
But you know, it's a fairly cheap. It's not made specifically for the Canon, so there's no through the lens. But you know, when you're shooting macro, once you have the distance and everything figured out and the strength, you don't really need through the lens.
Right.
Just a little bit of trial and error, and you're right there. And you know, I can buy 2 of these flash, or I can buy 4 of these flashes for what one Canon high-end flash costs. You know, these are about
Okay.
$100 a piece. I think
Okay.
my Canon EX580 was like $490 or something like that in the day.
Wow. Harold, those are beautiful shots. I
Well,
love
thank
them.
you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I plan to get some more in the future, hopefully.
Oh, I do too. Especially, you know, this next year, I'm gonna get out there and start chasing them around because I need to get the photo or the focus stacking
Mhm.
software so I can really, you know, because really what I like to get like the little jumping spider front to back,
Right.
perfectly focused.
Mhm.
And I also thought, well, you know, I've seen other photographers that have shot small ants doing the same thing.
Mhm.
And you know, like they're taking 30, 40 shots of one insect and it's sharp, you know, end to end. And that's the only way you get them is you have to
Go visit Alan Wall's website if you want to drop your teeth.
Okay.
He is
I will.
amazing.
I will. Yeah.
He's as far as I can tell, he's a retired doctor of Scottish descent, and he has
Really?
the most wonderful dry sense of humor. He's hilarious, but
Oh, wow.
he has a lot of great knowledge. I was going to say something profound, but I can't remember what it was.
I've got a website. I'll email you the link to it. I
Okay.
use it a lot when I'm trying to identify an insect.
Mhm.
This thing is endless as far as you pick on. You have a window comes down on the left side that gives you kind of a rough category, like if it's a spider, it's a fly, or a beetle, and then you can go in there and then you'll see a series of insects come up, but underneath each one of them there's a link. And if you go to any one of those links, it might bring up anywhere from several dozen to hundreds of different variations of what that insect might be.
Oh, wow.
And it's actually got a little deal where you can kind of describe what you see and it'll kind of help you zero in on it. I'll say, you know, for some of those flies that you couldn't identify,
Yeah,
that'd be really handy. That's how I've identified a lot of our insects.
I can use that.
Yeah, because it's really neat. I'll email you the link to that website.
I was going to tell you with this flash setup in the Olympus 60 with I don't think I even had the Raynox on it. I was out on our maple tree out there and there were cicada shells. I said, man, I'll just take some pictures, cicada shells, see what I can get. And I took a couple of shots and I came in and I said, well, what is that on there? And I don't know if you're familiar with those little oak mites that are about maybe 2 millimeters long.
Right.
Red. I'll be darned if I didn't get a sharp picture of one of those on that cicada. I didn't even know it was there when I was taking the picture until I started looking at the image. I'm like, good God, that thing is tiny, but it's amazingly sharp.
Yeah. Wow. That'd be cool. Yeah. The insect world is a violent one. I can tell you that.
And you don't have to go far to enjoy it.
No. Wow. Well, thanks for sharing that.
You bet.
Anybody else have any questions or comments?
Really nice, Harold. Good job.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Just imagine trying to do that back in the days of slide film, though.
No, no, no.
Jeez. Yeah,
Uh,
that's
that-
kind of my world right now, where I want to zero in and really hone my skill is shooting some macro and some hyper macro. What Bart fixed me up with out there at Overland Photo with is a series of step rings
Mhm.
that fit the front of a number of lenses, depending on the millimeter opening
Mhm.
size. All right, so you know the effect if you take a lens and you put it against a 35 millimeter backwards, it turns it into almost turns it into a microscope when you put the lens on backwards. Okay, I've also got the reverse bayonet, which would let me do that so I don't have to hold it up there. But with these step rings, I can take my macro and I can take like a 50 millimeter or whatever I want to put on the front and screw that lens onto the macro backwards. Everything has to be done manually. Your focus has to be done manually, your aperture, the whole bit, and the exposure. But when we were playing with this out there in the store, I get down and I look at a period on a just something he had printed. And I was looking at the period. I could not get the entire period in the viewfinder. And it gets down that small. So
Here's the Raynox 250, and
Okay.
it comes with a universal mount, but for Olympus, for some reason, it doesn't fit quite right. It has a range it'll fit. So I just got a conversion ring, a 43 millimeter, 46 millimeter to 43 millimeter. So, and I just screw that right in the front of the 60, and
okay.
you're off to the races. Let me see if I can.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, it's got a pretty good magnification to it. Wow.
I think this was maybe $70, $80.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, Calvin, you gotta check out that Thomas Shahan he was talking about.
Right.
Dang, some of his stuff is beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna get in there after we're done here. See, I'm gonna get into that. See what all he has.
The Alan Walls guy, he's kind of a DIYer. So he
Okay.
loves to tinker and stuff. And that's one reason why I love him, because I'm the same way.
Wow.
And
Sure.
when he had the instructions, he does the whole build there in front of you and shows you how to do it on stuff, and it's very easy to do. But some of his contraptions he makes are amazingly effective, but kind of Rube Goldberg type things.
Okay. Wow.
Well, guys,
You leaving us, Mr. Schultz?
yeah, I got some issues to take care of.
Okay. Well,
Anyway,
thanks for
appreciate it.
joining in. Before
Right.
you get out of here, I want to mention our next meeting is January 11th, which is painting with light. Jim Mathis will be judging that one. If anybody needs an updated list of all the assigned subjects, Dennis has been putting that out with the last couple of newsletters because we've got judges on all the subjects now. And but anyway, the definitions on there, about the painting with light. I know we've done that before, so everybody should be somewhat familiar with that assignment. And then I want to wish everybody Merry Christmas and a Happy
Yeah,
New Year, because
happy
it'll be after
holidays
New
to
Year for
everybody
the
else. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for asking
All
me
right, Jake.
to participate. It was an honor, and
All right.
got some great photographers.
Well, thank you. And we enjoyed your work too. You do some beautiful work.
There's more where that came from.
Okay.
Thank you.
All
Harold.
right, guys. See
See you,
y'all
James.
on the other side of the holidays.
On
There
the
you
other
go.
side of the holidays.
Happy holidays to everybody.
You bet.
All right.
Thank you.
Guys.
Thanks,
Bye.
Dennis. So, Mr. Bill, he lived up to his reputation you put out before him.
What'd you say?
I say he lived up to his reputation that you'd set before him.
Oh, okay.
Tell me, about some of the shots he put out down there, the macros. Boy, yeah, that is some beautiful
Yeah.
work.
He's got some real good shots of hummingbirds too.
Really.
Yeah, for a long time in Johnson County Camera Club, he'd bring in stuff for show and tell. It usually was hummingbirds.
Mm-hmm. I got one of a hummingbird I shot out here, I think it was last summer. It was sitting on a wire and it stuck its tongue out. I've never seen a hummingbird do that before. You'd be surprised how long that tongue is.
Hmm.
Because
Yeah.
the first I'm looking at that, I thought, that don't look right. And then I got looking at it close, I thought, he's got his tongue sticking out. So, yeah. I don't know if he's airing it out or cleaning it or what he's doing. But yeah, he was sticking his tongue out. Folks, that's about all I got on my little feeble mind for the night. I think I'm gonna go pour me one more beer before bedtime. I got time for one more.
Okay,
Okay, well,
There's my gift.
Merry
my
Christmas,
gift from
Happy
the
New
city.
Year, everybody.
Yeah, my gift from the city of Leewood, and it holds a bottle of beer perfectly. I
All
like to have
right.
a set of those. All right, we'll see you guys.
see ya.
See ya.